Squints McGee here from the Mount Princeton Trailhead. It's winter. Today we're going to be hiking Mount Princeton. For a full trail guide of Mount Princeton in the winter, you can check the link in the description below. It feels pretty good to be back in front of the camera. This is the first hike video I'm filming in 2023. Attempting to check off Mount Princeton in the winter, which has been on my list forever. In terms of winter 14ers, this is probably one of the more accessible and easier ones for a couple reasons that we'll get into later in the video. Coming off of COVID a couple weeks ago, so heart rate's already jacked up and lungs having some issues over the last couple weeks, but weather is supposed to be beautiful today, so really excited to tackle this one. We're starting from the lower trailhead today because they do not maintain the road that can usually take you quite high up on this hike. So in the summer, this is about 6.5 mile hike. Today it'll be about 13.5, maybe 14 miles. Just about a mile in here, and you're going to continue on the road. This is the Colorado Trail, the East Collegiate Peak version, but you're going to skip that. You can kind of see road conditions here. I would not at all recommend trying to drive up this, because even if the snow levels are quote-unquote doable in your car, the snow will warm up throughout the day and it'll be very easy to get stuck. So I talked earlier in the video about how Mount Princeton in the winter is a relatively safe and accessible 14er, and obviously snow levels change from year to year, but in general you can kind of see when you drive by it outside of Buena Vista. It's very prominent. It's not protected by other mountains, so it gets extremely windswept. So usually snow does not stick around very often, or very deep I should say. So avalanche risk is pretty much not a concern. There is one point that has potential that I'll show you later. Also the accessibility. Clearly you have to hike up this road here that you can typically drive up with a all-wheel drive or even some passenger cars depending on the driver and the car, but there's no like additional winter closures. Getting up to the lower trailhead is all paved roads, so relatively easy to get here too, which is pretty unique for a winter 14er. Just about 3.25 miles in. See the radio towers behind me here. This is the spot in the summer months and early fall for the most part. You can drive up with an all-wheel drive or higher car and park back here. So there's room for, I don't know, 5 to 10 cars. If you have a higher clearance vehicle, you can keep going actually. Let's say for whatever reason you're in the winter and want to hike Mount Princeton, you'd be adding about 6.5 miles from the lower trailhead and just about 1,900 extra feet of elevation gain. It's such a beautiful day today. It's hard to believe it's not spring and it's actually the middle of February. Very, very lucky that this day's weather is as beautiful as it is. While we're kind of in the middle of this video, if you're new to my channel, I do virtual trail guides, hiking tips, and so much more. So hit the subscribe button not to miss any future content. Throw this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful. And if you want to support the channel further, you can check out my website, which has some gear and donation options. And then I also just launched the Patreon, which gives you a variety of benefits as well. About 3.5 in. The road clearly goes this way, but there is a booter someone made, looks like snowshoes, straight cutting these road switchbacks. Typically, I highly recommend against cutting switchbacks, but in the winter, it's the one time where it's somewhat okay to do it because you're not ruining the trail in most cases. So yeah, I'm gonna head up straight here. This will cut off a bit of mileage, but I'm gonna add some on in a bit I'll talk about in a second. Just about 4 miles in. Look at these beautiful views. Wow, pretty. If you had a 4x4 car and could get up to this point, your best bet is to kind of park maybe up there and then work back. This road does kind of end up there. In front of you here, you can see the obvious route over to Princeton, the summer trail at least. You could theoretically take the standard summer route all the way over to Princeton, which summit is right up over here. The safer bet to avoid all avalanche risk is to take Trigger Peak and take this ridge right here. So it will eventually add a bit of extra elevation. I believe mileage should be about the same, but I'm going to do that today. You might be able to see a faint booter up there. As you can tell, not a lot of snow. So if this is a route you're looking to ski or snowboard, these couloirs over here, or perhaps this gully right over here, is your best bet. But again, you could see kind of this top part, a lot of it is not in, and usually won't be because of how strong the winds blow. Definitely don't feel 100% today, but I'm very happy on where I'm at. It is literally windless up here, flying the new drone, which has been going really well so far. And yeah, excited to tag Princeton for the second time. The last time I was here was with Juno, rest in peace. Looking back, radio towers right in there, and the standard trailhead like down there. Best route up this trigger, I forget already, my brain's a noodle, is whatever is the easiest for you. So I'm gonna follow this booter and just stick to the ridge as best I can. Well, that really sucks. Pros and cons of carbon fiber, I suppose. And now I'm down to no hiking poles. If you're new to my channel, we keep it real here. And I'm gonna be honest with you, things are not going good. I have no hiking poles, so I have to resort to using my axe, which is fine if I was 2 feet tall. Didn't have to bend down so far to freaking get this thing into the snow. The snow is very soft. So my crampons are the only option, since micro spikes are just, the snow is too deep for them. Yeah, I mean, I'm just moving very slow. The only saving grace is the weather is supposed to be great today, but this is gonna be a long day if I don't speed things up here. So it's not ideal. Yikes, that was horrible. In retrospect, I would have stayed on the rocks here. There was a booter over here I thought would be better. Put the crampons on. So yeah, it's terrible. But this right here is the top of this peak, and then you'll lose a bit of elevation, eventually get to the saddle and over to Princeton. I don't do a lot of winter hiking, and I always remind myself why when I go out to do the next winter hike. For me, it's just really not enjoyable. I love the spring when the snow is consolidated, but right now I'm stepping into either bulletproof drift snow or sinking up to my thighs and waist into sugar snow. And there's zero signs of when that will happen. So yeah, it's quite miserable traveling right now. Top of Trigger Peak, looking over to Princeton. It's been a sufferfest, but persistence pays off. Just leaving Trigger Peak, definitely running behind, definitely gonna be hiking down that road in the dark, but weather is absolutely perfect. Almost no wind. Yeah, I should be able to move a bit faster once I stop filming and get off this little ridge here. That was my first time up Trigger. I honestly, like, if you can go the standard way, I would. This is not any faster. There's slightly less avalanche danger, but there definitely is still some on those eastern slopes, depending on how much is piled up there. So this is the winter route. Is it really the safest winter route? That's kind of up to the conditions that you have that day. While we make the final push over to the summit of Princeton, let's cover a couple of things. So if you have never done a winter 14er before, highly recommend checking out my what to pack for winter 14er resource, my easiest 14ers in the winter list, and my basic avalanche information that I just put out as well. Mount Princeton in the winter is definitely not easy because of all the extra mileage and vert and snow that you're dealing with, but it's definitely a moderate one if you do want to continue to work through the winter 14ers. The other thing I touched on my avalanche resource video, I can't speak. Absolutely encourage you to understand avalanche conditions, have basic avalanche knowledge and training before you head out to any winter 14er, because even one like Princeton that looks pretty mellow can take your life in the matter of a few moments if you get into the wrong scenario. Looking back to false summit of Trigger, and then real summit is like back there. If you had taken the standard trail, you'd be coming up right here and joining the ridge. From here to the summit of Princeton, you have about 1 mile and 1,300 feet of gain, so it's gonna be steep. It looks closer than it is. Second to last tower here, this guy. That's the last tower. You're going to stay kind of in the middle. Don't top out on it unless you really just love extrovert. You know what I really wish I had right now? Hiking poles. Man, I feel for you guys who don't live in Colorado and you're not acclimated to, you know, 6,000 feet, let alone 12, 13, 14. It could be that I haven't been up high in quite some time here, but I also have a feeling that a lot of this is lingering COVID effects because my heart rate is like through the roof. I can't even walk and film at the same time because I'm just so out of breath. So yeah, it's not ideal by any means. So moving very, very, very slow. I'm about 1/4 mile from the top of Mount Princeton, and the summit cannot come quick enough. Once you get up here, whether it's winter or summer, there is going to be a lot of social trails. So stick to one. I'm gonna go here and up. It was a battle, but summit of Mount Princeton in the winter officially can check off the calendar, winter calendar summit here. Absolutely gorgeous on the summit. Winds are pretty minimal. It is pretty cold, but it's February. I mean, what do you expect? Can't have everything perfect. From the car to the summit, about 5.6 miles with 5,300 feet of elevation gain. Probably gonna tack on another 200-300 feet on the way back. Yeah, it's late in the day, so it's going to be a long one, but I don't typically show the whole way down, so I won't do that, but I will check in at some point just to give you some final stats, maybe before the sun goes down. For now, enjoy these amazing summit views of Mount Princeton here in the winter. It is gorgeous. I've been saving this maple syrup for hours, and to give me a reward for making it up in the sufferfest of a day, so back on the summit of Trigger Peak, Karen right behind me, Princeton over there. Yeah, this is a suffer day. Just cut my hand on rock. So usually the hike down is faster than the hike up for most people for obvious reasons. But in the winter, the sugar snow that coats a lot of the rock on the top of most of our mountains here in Colorado, at least, is extremely inconsistent and not deep. So you have to be extremely careful. I've almost rolled my ankle multiple times, almost buckled my knee multiple times. So unfortunately, I thought I'd be flying down, and it's pretty much as slow as it was going up. And I'm about to hit the crux of the route for the way down, at least, and I'm not too excited about that. Overall, it's Mount Princeton. The views from up in the Sawatch up here are absolutely awesome. So if you can get through the kind of terrible conditions, this is a decent 14er. Certainly if you're looking to check off the 14ers in the winter, you know, go for it. I've heard people say that the winter route is better than the summer. That is absolutely false in my opinion, unless there is just a significant amount of snow on all of this, which heightens avalanche risk and makes things a lot more tricky. So I would say this is equally as garbage as the summer route, if not more, because I'm tagging Trigger 2 times, which is kind of unnecessary, frankly, when I look down at the standard route. But I left my hiking poles over here, so I got to pick them up on the way down. That's the only reason I came this way again. That's where I'm at right now. For a full trail guide on Mount Princeton in the winter, you can check the link in the description below, which goes to my website. Again, to help support the channel through gear, through my Patreon, you can check those linked in the description below. I'll also link all the videos I talked about earlier today: Avi awareness, winter 14er hiking, and easiest winter 14ers. I might pepper in some B-roll, but this is pretty much going to wrap it up. So as always, thank you so much for watching. 15K of you, unbelievable. We're gonna hit 25 by the end of the year if I have anything to say about it. Looking forward to a great year, and as always, we'll catch you guys on the next adventure. Well, this is an interesting way to end the video. This is exactly why you don't try to drive up this road in the winter. Hopefully this car gets out. Looks like got a couple tethers going on here.